In 2024, 50 people were sentenced to death in the United States. Of those, 25 had their executions suspended. The remaining 25 faced their fate in 9 different states. Throughout this video, we will explore the crimes that led these individuals to death row. We will also reveal their last meals and the final words they spoke before their executions. Join us as we uncover the most shocking cases of the year. Welcome to True Criminal. Number 1. Kenneth Eugene Smith, State, Alabama. Kenneth Eugene Smith was convicted in 1989 for his role in the murder of Elizabeth Sennett. She was the wife of a preacher. The crime was a contract killing done for just $1,000. Smith and his accomplice brutally stabbed Sennett in her own home. His capture and trial led to a death sentence. However, appeals and legal battles delayed his execution for over 3 decades. On January 25, 2024, after 35 years in prison, Smith became the first person to be executed using nitrogen gas. This method had never before been used anywhere in the world. In his final hours, he was visited by family, friends, his attorney, and a spiritual advisor. For his last meal, he chose steak, eggs, and fries. When the time for execution arrived, he was secured to the gurney. Witnesses observed from the viewing room. A mask was placed over his face, and the flow of pure nitrogen was activated. His body convulsed, a process that lasted several minutes. Finally, his breathing stopped. His death was confirmed. Before he died, his final words were, "There is no justice in this." Number 2. Ivan Cantu, State, Texas. In 2001, Ivan Cantu was convicted of murdering his cousin, 27-year-old James Moscoda, and his fiancée, 22-year-old Amy Kitchen. The crime shocked Dallas. Prosecutors claimed Cantu shot both victims during a robbery attempt. They said he then tried to cover it up. However, for years he maintained his innocence. He insisted he had been framed and had nothing to do with the murders. After more than 2 decades behind bars and multiple attempts to overturn his sentence, Texas executed him on February 28, 2024, by lethal injection. Unlike other states, Texas does not allow death row inmates to request a special last meal. All prisoners receive the same meal as everyone else. This rule was put in place after a previous inmate ordered an elaborate last meal, only to refuse to eat it. In his final moments, Cantu turned to the victims' families and once again declared his innocence. His last words, "I want you to know that I never killed James and Amy. I don't believe this will bring you closure." A few hours later, doctors confirmed his death. Number 3. Willie James Pye, State, Georgia. Willie James Pye spent 27 years on death row. He was convicted in 1996 for the brutal murder of Alicia Lynn Yarbrough. The victim, with whom he had an on and off relationship, was kidnapped, raped, and murdered in 1993. Pye was also found guilty of kidnapping with injury, armed robbery, and burglary. DNA evidence and witness testimony sealed his fate. In his final hours, he was given a large last meal, 2 chicken sandwiches, 2 cheeseburgers, fries, 2 bags of plain chips, and 2 lemon-lime sodas. He ate in silence. On March 20, 2024, Georgia carried out his execution by lethal injection. In his final moments, he accepted a prayer, but refused to leave a recorded statement. Staring at the ceiling and without saying a word, he received the lethal dose. Minutes later, doctors confirmed his death. Number 4. Michael Dwayne Smith, State, Oklahoma. Michael Dwayne Smith was sentenced to death for a series of violent crimes committed between 2001 and 2002 in Oklahoma City. In November 2001, he was involved in the murder of Otis Payne Jr. during a shooting inside a vehicle. While on the run, in February 2002, he broke into the home of 41-year-old Janet Moore and fatally shot her. He had mistaken her for her son, whom he was hunting down, believing him to be an informant. Later that same day, he killed Sarath Paluru, a convenience store clerk. He had mistaken him for someone else and blamed him for making offensive comments about his gang. During his years in prison, Smith followed a vegetarian diet. In the hours before his execution, he chose not to request a special last meal. Instead, he ate whatever food he had left from the prison commissary. On April 4, 2024, at the Oklahoma State Penitentiary in McAlester, he was strapped to the gurney. When asked if he had any last words, he responded indifferently, "Nah, I'm good." Number 5. Brian Dorsey, State, Missouri. In 2019, Brian Dorsey was sentenced to death for the murder of his cousin, Sarah Bonney, and her husband, Benjamin Bonney, a crime that took place on Christmas Eve in 2006. That day, he called his cousin, asking for money to pay off a debt. Hours later, he entered their bedroom while they were sleeping and shot them at close range. After his arrest, Dorsey pleaded guilty, but his sentence remained unchanged. His execution moved forward despite appeals. For his last meal, he was served a large feast consisting of burgers, fried chicken, fries, and pizza. Moments before receiving the lethal injection at Bonne Terre State Prison, Dorsey shared a farewell message through his lawyers. In his final words, he expressed deep remorse. "To all the family and loved ones I share with Sarah, and to all the surviving family and loved ones of Ben, I am deeply, deeply, and overwhelmingly sorry. Words cannot contain the just weight of my guilt and shame. I still love you. I never wanted to hurt anyone. I regret hurting them, and I regret hurting you." At 6:11 p.m. local time on April 10th, the Missouri Department of Corrections confirmed his death. Number 6. Jamie Ray Mills, State, Alabama. Jamie Ray Mills was sentenced to death for the murder of 87-year-old Floyd Hill and his 72-year-old wife, Vera Hill. Mills broke into their home, where he brutally attacked them using a machete, a tire tool, and a ball-peen hammer. After the assault, he stole money and medication before fleeing. Floyd died instantly due to severe head trauma, while Vera survived for 12 weeks before succumbing to her injuries. A jury found him guilty in 2007 and sentenced him to death. His appeals dragged on for years, but were repeatedly rejected. The Alabama Attorney General called the crime cold and calculated, stating that Mills deserved the punishment he received. On May 30, 2024, the execution took place at the William C. Holman Prison Chamber in Atmore, Alabama. Mills received his last meal, a seafood feast that included shrimp, catfish, oysters, onion rings, and stuffed crab. Present in the room were his lawyer, family members, and media witnesses. The prison warden read the death sentence before administering the lethal injection. Mills did not offer any final statement before his death. Number 7. David R. Hosier, State, Missouri. David R. Hosier was sentenced to death for the murder of Angela Gilpin in 2009. The victim, a mother of 2, had been in a relationship with Hosier while separated from her husband. When she decided to reconcile with her husband and ended things with Hosier, he reacted with fury. Despite his conviction, Hosier always maintained his innocence, arguing that there was no DNA or physical evidence linking him to the crime. Hours before his execution, he enjoyed his last meal, a steak with a baked potato, Texas toast, apple pie, milk, and orange juice. On June 11, 2024, before his execution, Hosier delivered a final message through his spiritual advisor. His last words reflected peace and acceptance. "I am the luckiest man on earth. I've been able to tell the truth about my innocence. I've been able to reminisce with my family and old and new friends. I've been able to become the fullest version of myself. I leave you all with love. Now I'm going to heaven. Don't cry for me. Just join me when your time comes." Number 8. Romeo Felix Gonzalez, State, Texas. Romeo Felix Gonzalez was sentenced to death in 2006 for the crime committed against 18-year-old Bridget Townsend in Texas. The crime took place in 2001 when Gonzalez kidnapped the victim, assaulted her, and left her body in a remote area where it remained undiscovered for years. Before his execution, Gonzalez gave a final statement apologizing to Bridget Townsend's family. His last words were, "I cannot put into words the pain I've caused you, the pain I took away and can never give back. I hope this apology is enough. I live the rest of my life for you, doing my best to restore, to make amends, and to take responsibility. I never stop praying for your forgiveness and for the chance to apologize one day." His execution took place on the evening of June 26, 2024 at 6:50 p.m. Number 9. Richard Norman Rogan, State, Oklahoma. Richard Norman Rogan Jr. was sentenced to death for the murder of his ex-stepdaughter, Layla Cummings, in 1984. The girl disappeared on July 7th of that year, and her body was later discovered in a field in Washita County. Investigators determined that she had been kidnapped and assaulted before being murdered. Despite his conviction, Rogan always denied responsibility for the crime. However, the evidence against him was overwhelming, leading to his death sentence. For nearly 4 decades, he filed appeals to avoid execution, but none were successful. In his final hours, he was granted his last meal: 2 double cheese and double pepperoni pizzas from Little Caesars, 2 cups of vanilla ice cream, and a bottle of Werner's ginger ale. On June 27, 2024, in Oklahoma's execution chamber, Rogan was strapped to the gurney. When asked for final words, he simply replied, "I have none. I've already said my goodbyes." Moments later, the lethal injection was administered, and his death was confirmed. Number 10. Keith Edmund Gavin, State, Alabama. Keith Edmund Gavin was sentenced to death for the murder of a delivery driver in 1998 during a failed robbery attempt in Alabama. The victim was fatally shot when Gavin, in desperation, took his life without giving him a chance to defend himself. After his arrest, Gavin was tried and found guilty, with overwhelming evidence against him. He spent 26 years in prison, while his attorneys filed multiple appeals, all of which were denied. In his final hours, Gavin declined a special last meal, but accepted a serving of ice cream and a can of Mountain Dew. On July 18, 2024, in Alabama's execution chamber, he was strapped to the gurney and connected to an intravenous line. His final words were, "I love my family." He then spoke a few phrases that, according to witnesses, sounded like Arabic. Moments later, the lethal injection was administered and his death was certified. Number 11. Arthur Lee Burton, State, Texas. Arthur Lee Burton was convicted in 1998 for the murder of Nancy Adleman, a mother of 3, who went for her usual jog one summer afternoon near her home in Houston. The next morning, her body was found in a wooded area next to the trail where she often ran. Investigators determined that Nancy had been strangled with her own shoelace and left abandoned in the woods. Initially denying involvement, Burton later confessed to attacking her. As a result, he was sentenced to death. On August 7, 2024, Burton was executed in Texas by lethal injection. Before receiving the final dose, he spoke his last words, expressing gratitude to those who had prayed for him, including some who didn't even know him. He also expressed deep regret for the pain he had caused, saying, "Bird is going home. To all the people I hurt and caused pain to, I just want you to know, I wish we didn't have to be here right now, but I want you to know that I regret putting you through this. I hope I find peace and that you can too." Minutes later, the lethal injection took effect and his death was certified. Number 12. Tabaron Dave Honey, State, Utah. Tabaron Dave Honey was sentenced to death for the murder of Claudia Ben, his girlfriend's mother, in July 1998. According to court records, Honey brutally attacked the woman inside her home, committing a crime classified as aggravated murder due to its extreme violence. After his arrest, he was tried and sentenced to death. He spent 25 years in prison, exhausting every appeal without success. Utah, one of the states with the fewest executions in recent decades, had not carried out a death sentence since 2010, making his case highly publicized. Honey was given his last meal, a cheeseburger, fries, and a milkshake. On August 8, 2024, at 12 a.m. Mountain Time, Honey was pronounced dead after receiving a lethal injection of pentobarbital. His final words reflected a message of redemption. "If this is what it takes for you to heal, then let's do it. If they tell you you can't change, don't listen to them." To all my brothers and sisters here, keep changing. I love you all. Take care of yourselves. Number 13. Lauren Kensley Cole, State, Florida. In February 1994, Lauren Kensley Cole and his accomplice, William Paul, attacked siblings John and Pam Edwards while they were camping in Ocala National Forest, Florida. After luring them away from their campsite, they beat and robbed them. Cole then took John's life and assaulted Pam before leaving her tied to a tree. Pam managed to escape and alert the police, leading to their arrests. William Paul pleaded guilty and received a life sentence, while Cole was sentenced to death. On August 29, 2024, after 28 years on death row, Cole was executed in Florida. Before his execution, he had a last meal consisting of pizza, ice cream, M&Ms, and soda. When asked for final words, he calmly replied, "No, sir." He then looked at the ceiling, glanced at the witnesses, gave a slight nod, and lay back. Moments later, the lethal injection was administered, and his death was certified. Number 14. Freddie Owens, State, South Carolina. Freddie Owens etched his name in infamy with a 1997 Greenville convenience store robbery that ended in a clerk's murder, then doubled down by killing an inmate while awaiting trial. That sealed his death sentence. After 25 years of appeals, South Carolina executed him on September 20, 2024. His last meal was a carnivore's delight: burgers, fries, ribeye steak, chicken wings, strawberry soda, and apple pie. Silent on the gurney, he shared a faint smile with his attorney as the lethal dose flowed. His face tensed, breath slowed, and he slipped away, death certified in minutes, no words spoken. Number 15. Marcellus Williams, State, Missouri. Marcellus Williams faced the gallows for the 1998 stabbing of Felicia Gale, a St. Louis Post-Dispatch journalist, in her suburban home, a crime he swore he didn't commit. With no physical evidence tying him, his case sparked fierce debate, but appeals failed. On September 24, 2024, Missouri ended it with a midnight injection. His last meal, chicken wings and tater tots, shared with Imam Jalal Kashem. His handwritten farewell read, "All praise is due to Allah in every situation," a testament to his faith as the needle struck and his life ebbed away. Number 16. Travis James Mullis, State, Texas. In 2008, Travis James Mullis snapped, stomping his 3-month-old son Aliyah to death in a fit of rage over crying, then dumping the tiny body on Galveston's seawall. Confessing to his breaking point, he couldn't escape the death penalty. On September 24, 2024, Texas injected him hours after Missouri's Williams execution. His final words thanked supporters and begged forgiveness. "To my friends, pen pals, and those who stood by me, I'm grateful. To the mother and family, I'm sorry." No lavish meal, just closure as the needle delivered justice. Number 17. Emmanuel Antonio Littlejohn, State, Oklahoma. Emmanuel Antonio Littlejohn's 1992 Oklahoma City robbery of the Root and Scoot store left clerk Kenneth Mears dead. Prosecutors pinned him as the triggerman, though he swore his accomplice Glenn Bethany fired the shot. Bethany got life, Littlejohn got death. After 30-plus years of legal battles, he faced the gurney on September 26, 2024. His last meal, meat pizza, Coca-Cola, and cheesecake. Looking at his mother and daughter, he soothed, "Mom, are you okay? I'm okay." She replied, "It's fine, I love you," as the lethal dose ended a decades-long fight. Number 18. Alan Eugene Miller, State, Alabama. Alan Eugene Miller's 1999 workplace massacre at Ferguson Enterprises left 3 dead. Co-workers Lee Holdbrooks and Christopher Yancey, plus ex-boss Terry Jarvis at Post Air Gas, fueled by rage over his firing. Unrepentant, he claimed innocence for 24 years, until Alabama debuted nitrogen hypoxia on him September 26, 2024. After a last meal of hamburger steak, baked potato, and fries, he rasped, "I didn't do anything to be here," as the gas mask choked out his life, the second U.S. use of this eerie method. Number 19. Garcia Glenn White, State, Texas. Garcia Glenwhite's 1989 Houston rampage butchered Benita Edwards, 38, and her twin daughters Annette and Burnett, 16. After Benita spurned his drug-fueled advances, he stabbed her, then raped and slashed the girls' throats. On October 1, 2024, Texas executed him. His last words begged peace. "I'm sorry for the pain I caused. Find tranquility. To inmates, keep loving. To guards, thanks for humanity." Singing "I Trust in God," he faded at 6:56 p.m., a violent life extinguished. Number 20. Derek Ryan Dearman, State, Alabama. Derek Ryan Dearman's 2016 Alabama bloodbath claimed 5, including a pregnant woman, in a rampage at his ex's home. Admitting guilt, he dropped appeals in 2024, writing, "It's not fair to delay their justice." On October 17th, after a seafood tray and family visits, he faced lethal injection at Holman Prison. "Forgive me, this is for you," he told victims' kin, adding, "I love you," to his own. At 6:14 p.m., he was gone. Number 21. Richard Bernard Moore, State, South Carolina. Richard Bernard Moore's 1999 Spartanburg robbery spiraled into chaos, killing clerk James Mahoney after a gunfight over cocaine cash. Stealing $408, he crashed and confessed. On November 1, 2024, after 20-plus years, he savored steak, catfish, and pie before lethal injection. "I regret your pain," he told Mahoney's family, "I love you," to his own. At 6:24 p.m., his story ended. Number 22. Carrie Dale Grayson, State, Alabama. Carrie Dale Grayson's 1994 teen gang murder of hitchhiker Vicky W. was brutal. Only he, at 19, drew death while his pals dodged it. On November 21, 2024, after tacos and Mountain Dew, nitrogen gas hit at Holman. Defiant, he spat, "You should go to hell," thrashing as it took him at 6:14 p.m., a theatrical end, per officials. Number 23. Christopher Leroy Collins, State, Missouri. In 2007, Christopher Leroy Collins snatched 9-year-old Rowan Ford from her sleep, assaulting and killing her in his trailer. On December 3, 2024, Missouri's 4th execution of the year, followed a meal of cheeseburger and salad. "I accept this. Forgive me," he wrote, hoping for heaven. The needle certified his end. Number 24. Joseph Edward Corcoran, State, Indiana. Joseph Edward Corcoran's 1997 Indiana spree killed his brother James and 3 friends in their shared home. Schizophrenic but unappealing, he faced death on December 18, 2024, after ice cream. "Let's get this over with," he grumbled, and the injection closed a controversial case. Number 25. Kevin Ray Underwood, State, Oklahoma. Kevin Ray Underwood's 2006 Purcell horror saw 10-year-old Jamie Rose Boland lured, beaten, and suffocated in his sick fantasy. On December 19, 2024, after a hefty last meal, he faced execution. "I'm sorry. I wish I could undo it," he said, as the needle struck at 10:14 a.m., ending his nightmare reign.